Hey, what's going on? You're listening to Messin with Mormons. What episode is it? We didn't even think about that beforehand. 206?
207, I think.
All right. I don't
2
know.
something.
If only there was a fact checker here to help us out with that. My name is Wade. I'm here with my co-host CD.
Hi, what's up? My name is CD.
And your name is CD. You're right. And I'm here.
It's not CD, it's CD.
Oh.
Like CD, like a CD underground.
Oh, hey, you know, my parents were always worried about that people were going to make fun of me saying that it was CD. But maybe I am CD. Fuck it.
It's like CD. It's fine.
Yeah, we're joined, as you already heard, with special guest Paris. I forgot your last name.
Paris Hawkins.
Hawkins.
Yes.
Yes. Welcome to the show.
Well, thank you
You're
for
here.
having me.
Yeah,
I
of
feel like
course.
you need to throw one of those. Burr, burr, burr.
I know. I'm working on getting a sound pad.
Like
just
a
so I can
DJ
have that
Khaled.
moment. Yeah. That's what all of our...
Snort alert.
There was Kurt. That's what all of our listeners are thinking is like, oh, God, another one.
Oh, my God.
Another podcast.
That's the reason why I never bought a DJ Khaled album ever. Because, like,
Really?
granted, he has some really great mixes, but, like, every 5 seconds,
Yeah.
DJ Khaled. I'm like, fuck.
I don't even know who DJ Khaled is.
Cute.
Thank you.
I kind of want to hate you right now, but at the same
Paris
time,
thinks I'm cute, so fuck you, Wade.
I think what she said cute about was the fact you don't know who DJ Khaled is.
Oh, I thought she was just complimenting
it's
my
like
good
Cute,
looks.
cute is like the word bitch. It's like depends upon
Oh,
how
I'm
you
a
say
bitch
it
now.
by what it means. No, I'm saying it's like the
All right.
word bitch. Like it's like it where it depends on how you say it.
Hey, guess what? You're
about
kicked
how it
off the
means.
fucking podcast.
I'm just saying it's not like I was like cute. You know, I just was like cute.
Yeah, she had very good inflection when she said it.
It wasn't like, if you ever hear me be like, "Oh, that's so cute," then you know I'm like, that means I really don't like it.
So to get into it right away, there's some things that we have to address. And we have to because it's happening in the world.
Yeah.
It's Russia and Ukraine.
Okay.
That shit's fucked up, right? You know that Ukraine's like fucked. They're doing a great job right now of handling that. But it kind of makes me sad because you see the president of Ukraine, who, by the way, is a fucking badass.
Yeah.
He goes down on the fucking streets of the capital and he's like, hey, y'all, we got this. We don't need the United States. I just need more ammo because I'm going to die here.
Right.
I know.
You're looking at a dead man.
Right.
He gets on social media like, hello, I am here. My name is Vladimir Losnikaska, and I am coming here from you.
Sounds more Russian.
It sounds super, but Ukrainian and Russian are really close to
yeah.
Yeah.
Still
They
Eastern
speak the same
European,
ways,
but yeah.
I come from the street of Rusk and 21st. And if you want to come get me, Vladimir Putin. I fuck you in ass.
Well, I mean, a complete amateur. And again, I've been out of town and like totally disconnected from social media for the most part for the last couple of weeks. So my, I as usual divert to what's happened in the past, right? And so where my brain goes is what natural resource exists in Ukraine that is prompting
They're going after it. Basically.
whatever it is.
Yeah.
What is it, Paris?
Is it lithium? Is it uranium? Is it poppy? Because I know that like poppy fields are really popular
I
in
think
Eastern
poppy
European.
is like more of Afghanistan, which
And
Russia controls.
You have no idea how many poppy fields are in Poland.
No shit. Well,
There's a lot of poppy fields in
Ukraine
Poland.
is not Poland.
I know, but it's still Eastern European. It's a similar climate, so I'd imagine that it probably grows just as
Yeah.
well there. I mean, like again, this is amateur, no research. I'm just like my guess is
I hear
that there's some natural resource, and my brain tells me it's probably uranium, lithium, or poppy.
lithium, which goes into batteries, which
Right. Right.
Electronic cars are going to be
Right.
the thing of
Because
the
I mean,
future.
like, it just doesn't make sense that.
That he just
They-
has a grudge.
Well, I mean, I feel as though they allowed, and again, totally amateur. This is just my amateur opinion, and this is the first time I've actually even answered this question. So this is just what's coming to my mind at the time. I feel like there was something that was going on there, 30 years ago, and there wasn't an issue about them essentially kind of seceding from Russia in the beginning, and I feel like they were like, no, by all means, cultivate whatever this mystery thing is and spend the next 30 years, building your economy around it. And then once you've done that, we're just going to come in and take all your shit.
Yeah.
Like, that's what I think is really going on.
Which is easy for a country like Russia
To
and
do.
Ukraine. Like
it's really easy to do.
Yeah. They're like, we've got so many more people than you. You're fucked.
Really little known fact, Sacramento, where I'm born and raised, is used to be one of the most culturally diverse cities in the nation. And we had a lot of Ukrainian immigrants in my neighborhood. Because, I mean, if you move here from another country, you're not moving to the burbs, you're moving to the hood, right?
Yeah.
And, you know, I'm starting now to remember conversations that I had with, you know, classmates that were Ukrainian about things that were going on in Ukraine, why their families came here to begin with. So, you know, that's what my gut tells me.
So Paris, our friend Ches that's not able to make it today, he shared with me a video on YouTube from a guy, I think his name is Johnny Harris, and he basically broke down why that Russia has such a hard-on for Ukraine, because it just seems like what is going on with this little fucking tiny country? What is the big deal?
Right.
And it's because Ukraine, the old president of Russia was Mikhail Gorbachev. He had that fucking like Earth-size
the
fucking
Russia-sized birthmark on his head.
Yeah. Like you could like.
It's like the picture of Russia, like right on his face.
Yeah. It's like you can pretend like you can do a fucking.
No,
Anyway.
granted, I was in elementary school, but I do remember the jokes.
So Mikhail Gorbachev, his grandmother, and a lot of the Russian nationals came from Ukraine, and Ukraine used to be old school Russia.
Soviet Union era.
Right,
Yeah.
USSR stuff, yeah.
And so Vladimir Putin wants to.
He annexed them in
He
2015 or 2014.
he wants to conquer.
Well, I mean, but
he wants to bring
they've been allowed to function independently for 30 plus years.
So
So it's just so odd.
Do you think that him fucking blowing up the fucking goddamn whole country is gonna get him to?
Again, I'm one of those people that reverts to, you know, that history teaches us a lot. So if what we know about history, then, you know, it's a really good possibility. You go in there and blow some shit up. It could work out to your favor. But in history, there's been times where they've gone in and blown shit up and it didn't work out to their favor.
Like you
so
blew
it's
up
kind of,
my apartment building,
like
and now I love you, mother Putin.
it just really depends. I think as it is with anything, you know, we won't know the truth for 20 years from now.
Really?
I don't think the truth of whatever the reasons or the motives are going to come out. And it might even take longer now that it's this social media era and everybody gets to just put out there whatever they think it is, that it might take us 20 years to actually get the truth and for people to believe it.
Do you think this might be some sort of situation to pull America or NATO into another Cold War?
Okay.
I wanted to hear that laugh.
I strongly feel like this was something that was already, these wheels were already put in motion.
For sure.
With the previous
For sure.
presidency.
Yeah.
I would not be, again, going back to history, right? If we look at, previous presidents that, had these private vested interests in America going into war so that they could make more money. Again, I'm talking about the Bushes, obviously. I wouldn't be surprised.
Military-industrial complex.
I wouldn't be surprised that these wheels were put in motion years ago. If it wasn't for the fact that, the previous president thought he would run a second term and continue to be able to capitalize while he's running the country, or if he was unsure if he was going to get a second one and it was going to be the problem of somebody else, but he was still going to make his money. So
you have to hand it to the Ukrainians, though. Like, that's a strong play to be like, hey, y'all,
go fuck yourselves.
We're giving out AK-47s, come pick them up.
Yeah, right here.
And stay in your house.
Right.
And if a Russian comes in your house,
shoot that motherfucker.
Yeah.
And then blue and yellow.
They're living by hood rules. I love that part.
Yeah, they're putting up a goddamn good fight too.
And and they're getting. I think the part of it that's really new, and maybe not new, but is refreshing for my generation or somebody. I've only been on this planet 38 years. Is seeing the level of solidarity.
I'm trying to get CD's attention because I need a beer.
Seeing the level of solidarity that's happening right now, kind of like across the United States, is really.
The fuck was that?
I mean, if there's nothing else that we learn from this, I think that's a really refreshing thing to see, that you can see people that aren't even closely tied or have any type of connection to Ukraine whatsoever, but are completely 100% supporting them defending themselves. And I don't think you could call yourself a true patriot if you weren't supporting their cause anyway.
So Paris, we're seeing a lot of So yesterday, Saturday, this podcast is coming out on Wednesday, March the 2nd, I think. But we're seeing a lot of our local companies pull Russian products off their shelves, more specifically like vodka.
Yeah, Stolishna.
So the product's already been purchased, so
Right.
the money's already gone to Russia. But how do you feel about that? This boycott might be.
So you're asking me what type of like economic impact we could do, that we or even people internationally are going to
Yes.
make on the overall Russian economy by
Yes.
like not utilizing their products.
Yeah. Did you
Yeah.
think our podcast was going to go here?
You know, I am all about civil disobedience. You know, civil disobedience is what led to us being able to sit here and talk in this room right now. So, I believe in what they're doing as a concept, and I completely support it. However, I think there are other things we could probably be doing that can make a greater impact than just not drinking their vodka. Because for the record, Polish vodka is better than Russian vodka anyway.
Shout out to Belvedere. Shout out to Belvedere. But gang, gang. Belvedere, gang, gang.
Gang. Okay.
The reason I started with that though is because you're not a history teacher. I don't think.
No.
We haven't gotten into that, but you are. You have been a school teacher.
Yes.
And
I taught 7th and 10th grade special ed English.
yeah.
Yeah.
And so I guess the point is like, I think people need to educate themselves about that situation, which is super sad. I feel so bad for any Ukrainian person right now. It's like, it's so hard because they don't stand a chance, you know?
Or
Maybe they do.
I mean,
know.
like, you know,
They put up a good fight.
Yeah, they
history
are.
has shown there have been some small entities that have really overcome. I mean, like,
That's true.
there's like the old school story of David and Goliath. Like, that's
Yeah.
still a thing. And
I hope that fucking happens.
I'm unfortunately, and for my best and worst attribute is how optimistic and kind of resilient I can be, and how much hope I hold out for people, good, bad, or indifferent. So I hold out hope.
And I think that plays a lot into you being a teacher, right?
It does. It does take a certain amount of compassion and understanding, and an ability to every day be challenged to look outside of yourself. I feel like that's a story that doesn't get told. And I think like a lot of people just don't understand the amount of personal sacrifices that teachers make every day. I've yet to know a teacher that didn't go home crying one day.
Mm-hmm.
And it's not just because of, not necessarily the pressure of this ridiculously unpaid job, but, you know, like we were talking about before, the one thing I wasn't prepared for when I got into education for children is caring more about somebody's child than they did.
And what did you teach? if you don't mind me
So I was doing 7th and 10th grade special ed English.
asking?
So, you know, follow the money, right? So schools get an additional stipend for kind of like a per capita thing for the amount of special ed students they have on their
Oh, okay.
part of their student population.
Mhm.
Some schools utilize that money in the best ways possible and use the money in the ways that are in the benefit of the children.
Right.
And some schools don't.
Yeah.
And
That's got to be tough as a teacher, though, to care so much about the people you're teaching, but then you're like, at the same time, you're helping them follow the money in a way, which
right.
Paris, what kind of challenges have you found teaching, or at least do you have any thoughts about the challenges of teaching in the year or the age of the pandemic?
Oh, that was probably one of the most difficult and challenging things. You know, if I had to, like, you know, if you have that moment where you have to think about, you know, it was definitely ridiculously challenging. Also considering that I teach special ed. And one of my cadets was 13 years old, 17, and didn't know how to read.
yeah.
Not because she couldn't, for the record. And we'll touch back on that in a second. So when you're in a pandemic and a special ed cadet who's genuinely special ed, you know, has to log into a computer and sign into something, and they don't know how to read.
Yeah.
So, and I can't go to their house and still give them their education one-on-one. I am now relying on someone in their household to be present and on time so that this child can get their education. And that didn't happen a lot.
Yeah. And you did mention before the show that part of your job was doing some household visits and stuff like that.
Yeah, it was something I started doing once, when the pandemic had first kind of started. When we started this, so the pandemic happens in March and everybody goes online, right? Yeah. And that was a very precarious time. But then when the next school year started, this is going to hurt. Okay.
Hurt people.
So, we were literally missing 197 cadets.
Just gone. You don't know where they're at.
They hadn't logged into school. We haven't seen them. We haven't heard them. We've called. We've emailed. And so I, on my own, independently started going and knocking on doors on my breaks between classes. Because certain days of the week I had a 2-hour break, and certain days of the week I had a 1-hour break, and certain days of the week I had, and I was going and knocking on doors on my lunch break, on my off periods, and after school, just to try and find out where these children are.
See, I don't think people understand that you are teaching these children. So you almost invite them into your family. They're your family now. You care about them, right? And you went out of your way, not getting paid for it, I'm sure.
Not at all.
Just to go knock on doors. That pandemic had to be so hard for, even parents too, because a lot of parents, the schedule is a good thing, right? Wake up, get ready, go to a place where you learn, and then come home. And as soon as that all flip-flops, everything changes.
Shower and shave. I mean,
it was a lot. So, I saw a lot in those first few months. And then the school that I was working with, long story short, got a grant because they started to see, I'm a geek and a nerd, right? So I started, I was keeping track of the cadets when I contacted them, from the time I contacted them, when was the first time they showed up in class, if they'd been missing, and what was their level of engagement once they were online, and continuing to engage parents. I can't even tell you, on average, I was getting about 5 calls a day after school hours from parents, in complete tears at Wix End, not knowing what to do, right? Yeah. So that's a whole other separate thing. So the school I was working for got a grant to design an entire program behind the progress I was making.
So you made an impact. That's a huge impact.
So I got promoted, and I got to, essentially leave the classroom and give 100% of my focus to knocking on these doors.
No shit.
And not only just knocking on the doors, but finding out what's wrong. So, before we got the grant, I'd knock on a door and I'd find out they weren't logging in because the only thing they had was their cell phone, and they didn't have internet at home. So how do we expect them to be able to log into school if they don't have internet at home? They're doing school from their cell phones.
So you took it upon yourself to find out what the issue was.
What's the issue?
And then you found out what the issue was.
Find out what the issue was.
At least, and they did something about it.
I found companies and businesses that I went and knocked on by myself and through the network of people that I knew that would be like, hey, are you willing to sponsor 1 year internet for this one cadet? Can I just get a donation from you for $100 that can give this kid internet for the whole rest of the year so he'll show up to school? Because I made a commitment that if I can get him internet, he said he'd show up.
Yeah.
So that's what I did.
Holy shit.
Yeah.
That's so above and beyond. And I think it's hard. I know everybody struggles. Everybody has a hard time, especially during the pandemic. Everybody struggled with shit. And then you're out there doing way more.
Yeah, here I am worried about my fucking 2-day delivery from Amazon.
I really feel and there's been a lot of articles that have come out since then. We all forget that sometimes that there's still a huge disparity between certain populations of people. And I know when everybody agreed to go online because it was safe, there's a couple things I really feel like they failed to understand. 1, not everyone has the same level of access as everybody else. Period.
Yeah, we made that assumption that it's okay, let's just go online.
Everybody has internet, right? No, everybody doesn't have internet, and trying and it's
not
hard enough.
Everyone has a fucking laptop or a computer or
I was
iPad.
going to houses and oh, you didn't have a computer? Well, I have a stack of computers, and I had laptops and cords and all that stuff in my car. And when I would show up and I found out the computer they had was broken or it didn't work, I'm like, well, here's one from the school.
Yeah.
I was just there to do the just-in-time solutions to get them to show up. And we forgot about, and I think as a society as a whole, we completely forgot that there is, that financial disparity where people don't have the same level of access to things that we might assume that they would, because we have that access. So we're just like, everybody has it, but no.
You make a good point. I think there was a lot of focus on elderly people and the young people, like young childs, like toddlers, right? Because, that we have to protect them. They can't protect themselves. But then you don't realize that there's people out there who they need that help too. It doesn't matter how old they are or how young they are. They still need that help.
I spent a little under $1,000 in DoorDash because I was on, we do our lunch break thing, and I'm seeing the kid just sit there, and I see that they're not eating. So I pull them, I go into my private little chat with them, like, what's going on? Why aren't you at lunch? Why are you just sitting, and then to find out they don't have food. Like,
what do you think we could do to help? I mean, you've already helped so much, obviously, based on what you've told us, but what's the change that needs to be made, or what's the shift in thinking that needs to be done to get people to understand that?
That one fundamental concept, that perception will always be the 99% of the facts for anybody, right? So your perception of what life is, that's your truth, that's your fact. But know that not everybody has the same perception of life that you do. So those are it's different. And that was the biggest disparity, is people not understanding the drastic difference, especially, with, Black and Hispanic families, for lack of a better, when the pandemic happened, it was, and I hope this comes in the best way possible, but, and I totally respect and understand it, but it was, now I don't have to send the younger kids to daycare because the older kid who's supposed to be going to school is home. So now, but not thinking about that 7th through 12th grader who's now not able to be online and present in the classroom because they're taking care of their 3 or 4 or 5 younger siblings. And teachers marking, students down for not physically being on camera at the time, and them getting lower grades even though they completed the assignment, not thinking that part through, where that whole dynamic changed so many things for people at home that I as a teacher was totally okay if you didn't log in, that's fine. Mm-hmm. Did you get the assignment done? Did you have questions? That's more important to me than making sure that you're there and on the camera at 8:00 in the morning.
You just said a lot, because that dives into a cultural issue where cultures are different, right? Hispanic culture is totally different, it's different than what I live. I live in my house by myself, and I'm fortunate enough to be able to do that. But if I had some children that I had to take care of, it would totally change everything. So not only cultural, but at the same time, don't know where I was going with that.
Economical?
Yes,
maybe?
economical. Yeah, because now you've got, say, a Hispanic person, which they're such good fucking workers. They want to go work hard and make money. Mm-hmm. And now you're no, you have to stay home. Their children are at home. So what are they going to do? They're going to be got to support my family, not paying for daycare. Let's go out and work. Let's go find things to do.
That part too.
Paris, I think
that part too.
You're talking about a lot of disparity though with these families, including myself. I have to work my fucking ass off to pay my rent, and thank God I don't have any children except for my my good boy Roscoe. He's my dog.
Yeah.
But it takes so much time and work just to pay the fucking bills and keep the lights on and everything. And these kids or my dog or whatever are staying at home by themselves and not doing.
I feel like the hardest part for me was, unfortunately we live in Utah, which is a predominantly, white state, right? I call it the Sugar Bowl for a reason.
2004.
Utah
Utes. Sorry.
They just were.
Really?
It's a football.
I cannot tell you how many times I heard the conversation, if a student or a cadet didn't have, highlighters at home, and that's the reason why they couldn't take pictures of their assignment, because their assignment was to highlight this certain piece of information. And other teachers being completely up in arms, I don't understand why their mom and dad just can't come down here and just get them their highlighters, or why can't they just go to the store and buy them? And I'm like, you know what? I'm just gonna assume here, right? Yeah. That if those two things were an option, that they would have already been done. So yeah, no, I don't mind, hopping in my car and spending my own gas to drive.
We can barely put gas in the car to get the fucking.
But
highlighters.
I have a job, so it's cool. I'm making a super cool $29,000 a year. Mm-hmm. So by all means, let me put gas in my car and drive out to American Fork to drop off some highlighters to a kid.
Yeah, and that was the you just made my point, which is now that everybody's at home, you save a little bit of money there, but then you go out and work. I know I'm not I've been waiting to bring this up because I know we're there. We're like 5 minutes to the break. But that was the thing is like now the parents, all the kids are at home, but the parents are like, we got to support the kids. And then they leave. And so now you became, by proxy, a parent almost for all of these children that you've taught.
And let's not lose sight of the fact that, school is that buffer between home.
Yeah.
And for a lot of students, that's a safe place.
There's when I was in elementary school or middle school, there were so many times that I loved going to school because I'd see people that I would never see outside of school. You build your own little friend group and you have your community, and so it's a safe space.
Well, it's really a safe space because being at home is dangerous.
And yeah, there's also that.
And so you get that opportunity to go to school and have that break and actually have an opportunity to be a kid. That even though you're 12, 13, 14 years old, you're not going to be treated like an adult at school. You're going to be treated like a child. But when you go home, you're treated like an adult.
Yeah, and when I was going to school, I have memories of friends that I was like, yeah, I'm going home. And they were kind of like, oh, I'm going to stay here for a while.
The latchkey kids,
yeah, it's
right?
Like, why are you going to stay at school? Like, you should go home. And at the time, as a middle schooler, I didn't understand that.
Do you want to hear the hardest pill to swallow? This is the thing that's going to hurt the most. So we talked about all these students that are missing, right? Now, as educators, our last-ditch effort, if we feel something, know something, our job is, mandatory reporters that we call CPS. And we finally followed up with them. Like, we had this list of cadets that we still were not able to get in contact with. And we're like, what's going on? Contact CPS. What have you found out? And this was last year, end of the school year time. So we're talking like April, maybe May. And the representative from CPS said that they weren't addressing any concerns about students not showing up for school until the summer of 2022.
Oh, so they had already decided that they're like, the pandemic's here, we don't give a fuck.
They had already decided that because they were getting so many reports from schools of students that had shown up missing that they weren't even going to start investigating about where these kids are after we've done everything that we can as educators. Like I said, knocking on doors, sending emails. Like, I'm on TikTok and Instagram, hunting children down, okay? I'm using everything I got. And for CPS, and I still can't find them, and for CPS to say, well, yeah, we're aware this is an issue, but we're not investigating any children that are missing, right, and from school until the summer of 2022. So you mean to tell me that these kids can continue to go missing for a whole nother year?
Yeah, that kind of makes them sound like what they're saying is, you know what, everything else is way crazier, but it's they'll be fine. For 2 years, they'll be fine. Don't worry about it.
And you're talking about children that are missing.
Yeah, they don't show up to school.
I'm ashamed. I'm not ashamed because we haven't said where I worked at, but I will tell you this. I just had a gut feeling something wasn't right.
Yeah.
And I do have certain connections in other circles. And I had me and a friend go sit on a student's house at night. I'm like, no, there's something going on there. I don't know what's going on, but there's something. And we sat on their house all night long. And I didn't write anything down. I just I come from a certain type of neighborhood. You see certain things, you know what's going on.
Sure.
And I sat on a cadet's house from about 7 o'clock at night all the way until 7 o'clock the next morning. And I can tell you exactly why that kid is missing. But nobody could do anything about it.
Yeah.
Dude, I've been trying not to cry this whole fucking last half hour.
Seriously, I had to leave education. This
is why, and I was going to ask if that's the reason you left, was because it's that hard. It also, it's a whole different topic to talk about how much you get paid to do that, to care that much. You work a million times harder than a lot of people who make a lot more money than you.
I'm not going to even lie. I was as a teacher, I was making $29,000 a year. That was my salary.
Motherfucking make more money working at Taco Bell.
Right. However, when they promoted me to the coordinator for this program that they got the grant for, my salary went up to $60,000. So I made more money as an administrator. Now, granted, I'm 100% to support the work that I was doing.
Yeah.
But I'm telling you this much right now, if I had it my way, the teachers would be getting paid $60,000 a year, and I'd be making $29,000 for knocking on doors.
Yeah. Look at how much you did for those kids, and I've always thought this, the salary for a teacher is so under fucking paid. You're teaching our future. You're literally bettering people, and you're making an impact. I had a teacher that in high school, I was in a software development. He taught me everything I know, and then went to college. He ended up being the dean of the college. I'm sure he was underpaid most of his fucking life, and it's just not fair to put the hands of kids learning things in
just anybody.
Yeah, because we're supposed to value that, right?
I think, and we talked about this a little bit earlier, that was one thing, the pay, right, and the amount of effort. But to be honest with you, the biggest thing, and we talked about this before, I do my best to fix whatever I can, right? But I can't make a parent care more about their kid than I do. Yeah. And that was the minute I had to walk away. Yeah. Because I can't care more about your kid than you do.
I'll never forget Madame Falsoni. I'll never forget Coach Tony. I'll never forget, the people that basically brought Mrs. Cantrell that taught me to read Dr. Seuss, Mr. Goose, shit from. I'll never forget those people. Those are the people that build personalities. And
absolutely. Like, do I remember my best friend from 5th grade? A little bit. But my 5th grade teacher, he was the shit.
Yeah.
I remember him. I could tell you what his wife's name is. I could tell you the name of his kids. I could tell you, like, his gray suit he used to wear on Fridays. You know what I mean? But could I tell you who was the person I was hanging out with every day?
No. Yeah. No, I remember him, but...
That was a weird honk you just did right there.
I'll tell you what. We need to take a break.
Okay.
And we'll be back to continue with more.
Dang.
And we're back. That was a good first half. I'm not going to lie. That really was. We got deep into...
Paris, you put a smile on my face and a song in my heart.
Oh, aren't you so sweet?
I like how CD just interrupts the intro, dude.
I know.
Sorry, dude. I'm just saying.
Fine,
she does. She's an amazing person. Go ahead.
Thank you. I'm so sorry.
Oh, now no, it's not your fault, Paris. It's CD's fault. No, we had a very good first half. I feel like we got into some deep shit.
A little bit.
But now we have to. You all know what we have to do. Now we have to talk about our sponsor, who is very gracious, Salt Flats Brewery, 2020 West Industrial Circle. You should go there and have lunch. Have lunch at the brewery and try all their beers and see what you think for yourselves. We enjoy it quite a bit. I'm drinking a Baja right now. Paris,
I'm also drinking a Baja. I had an array to choose from, and Baja was my first try, and I keep going back to it.
This is the sound of the most delicious beer you've ever had in your entire life.
Coors Light.
No.
Coors Light is disgusting.
Yeah, it's pretty
I'm drinking the Audubon, my favorite beer, the Berliner Weiss.
Yeah, and they also have spirits. They're a distiller, so you can get vodka, gin, bourbon.
Their vodka's fantastic.
Their vodka isn't bad, at all.
It was the last time I made Jello shots was with their vodka.
There's no
reason. Handed them out on
reason.
Halloween to the parents. It was great.
There's no reason to be drinking anything that is Russian vodka right now.
Right. We established that before.
Let's drink some local vodka.
Well, I'm all about local anyway.
Hell yeah.
If I have to choose local.
Choose
every
local.
time.
Yeah.
Every time.
They have a new restaurant/bar that opened up. I wish I knew the address off the top of my head, but
it's in Harriman.
It's in Harriman.
For real?
It's out by Mountain Corridor.
Is it called? Does it start with an R?
It's the Garage Grill.
No, garage is on back.
Yeah, there's multiples.
Is there more than one garage?
Yeah.
Is that how old I am that I don't even know there's more than one garage?
No, you just don't know there's more than one.
Okay.
It's okay.
It kind of broke my spirit a little bit.
Sorry.
I'm just kidding.
Go check them out. There's it's really cool. Inside on the restaurant, there's a 21 plus side. There's a restaurant side, which is all ages. You can take your family there. But when you're in the restaurant, you literally are sitting underneath cars. You're sitting underneath like a Lamborghini or an F1.
I think I have been there.
Yeah, it's really cool. The vibe is really cool.
I have been there. I do not remember who it was with or how I got there, but I do know what you're talking about.
Hell yeah. That's what I like. As long as you go there. But go check them out. Thank you to Salt Flats for supporting us, and thank you all for listening to the podcast. I hope you enjoy it. Now I'm gonna throw it to CD and see what he says.
Oh shit! Here we go.
Exactly what I thought was gonna happen.
No, it's just funny when Wade throws it to me because I'm just gonna throw out some crazy ass shit. But Paris, I love you. Thank you for coming on the podcast, and thank you for being a part of this intelligent discussion. Because sometimes these questions and these topics and these conversations are really uncomfortable, and sometimes people don't know how to do it, and they don't know how to handle it.
Right. And I thank you for saying that and completely, that's a certain amount of respect you just gave me, and a sentence and whatnot that I will carry with me for a long time. So thank you.
Hell yeah, gang.
One of the biggest challenges, and this is something else Wade and I talked about earlier, is that we're in a day and age now where just because you have two competing, points on one particular topic, nowadays you can't just entertain the conversation with somebody about it. Now it's like, it seems like, just because I don't agree with you, now you want to turn it into an argument. And it's like, that's not what this is. And I'm starting to realize it's more because people aren't used to being able to just have a conversation about things and it not always be so personal and start stuff.
Can I ask you a hard question?
Absolutely.
Do you feel that it's hard being a black African-American woman?
No, I'm black. I'm not African-American. I'm black. It's cool.
Okay, but a black woman, do you feel that it's hard, that you feel like some resistance from people sometimes?
Absolutely.
I mean, do you feel like there's some like Utah fucking bitch ass motherfuckers that are trying to?
It's so crazy that you're asking this. Answer number one, absolutely, and I don't think it's just being in Utah. The first thing I want to say is something a lot of people fail to understand, that someone like myself that's clearly, biracial, that we get the, privilege of experiencing racism from both sides. It's not just a one-sided thing. And when people think about racism and racist things, they always assume that it's like somebody white saying something to somebody who's a person of the global majority. And they forget that we still experience a certain amount of racism from people that are of the same nationality we are. So it's been challenging everywhere, right? Not just Utah. However, Utah's, presented some new challenges that it's funny, it actually goes back to something else me and we were talking about, which is that, a skill I didn't know that I needed until I moved to Utah was having to very quickly ascertain the difference when people say things or do things. Like, is this person being ignorant or are they being racist? And having to ascertain that in a quick amount of time to be able to still, interact with that person on whatever level you determine that is, right? And it's 50-50. Some things are racist and some things are ridiculously ignorant.
So what's the difference? Because sometimes I feel like I might be that person that might be ignorant or might be racist. I don't know. I don't think I'm racist.
All right. So the definition for me, right? I'm not saying Webster or anybody else, but for me, if somebody says something, okay, let me think of the last ignorant thing somebody said to me. This is great. I ended up in a conversation with someone about who started the conversation by saying, oh, I'm going to come over here and talk to you, as a white guy, because, my aunt married this black guy and I have eaten collard greens and I've had black eyed peas and I've listened to rap music, and it makes this huge announcement to everybody to come and sit by me because of these things.
Yeah. All of a sudden you have something in common. They don't even know this motherfucker.
Right.
I got Travis Scott on my fucking
cool.
playlist.
Right. So he comes over and sits down and again, in that moment I have to determine, is this person being ignorant or racist? Yeah. Okay. Mm-hmm. So when he comes and plops down next to me, I'm like, okay. And I was like, so, I'm thinking about what am I going to say? And as soon as he sits down, I just looked at him in front of everybody. I was like, so just so you know, my interests fall far outside of collard greens, black eyed peas, and rap music. So, can we talk about the last really good book you read?
How far did you catch him off when you said that?
And, the look on his face, right? And so, mind you, I'm in a group of about 10-ish. I'm the only person of color in the room. It was just all white people and me. So we started engaging in this conversation. He didn't have a book that he could bring up, and then somebody else brought up a book, and the next thing you know, we end up in a conversation about classic literature. And, I gave my perspective and understanding about what I understand about The Tale of Two Cities, and, just things that, were really classics to me and how I have opinions about them, right? Mm-hmm. And at the end, the guy from the very beginning, as he's leaving, he comes up to me and he's like, I was just really shocked about how much you know about classic literature. And at that moment I realized he wasn't just ignorant, that he was racist too.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? Because there were 10 other people out here that were engaging in the conversation, and why were you felt a need not only in the very beginning to announce why you were coming to talk to me to everybody, but then at the end kind of pay me a compliment and slap me in the face at the same time.
Yeah, I get, and this is a stretch. This is a big stretch, but I've had people, in just being in Utah, growing up here, I've had people come up to me and they're like, "Oh yeah, are you Mormon? Have you ever had funeral potatoes before?" And it's like kind of that same thing. It's like,
how many wives do you have?
yeah, I've had funeral potatoes and they're delicious, but
They can be.
Yes, they can be. Right? Like I've had some shit ass funeral potatoes before, and where are they called that anyway? Like,
Who knows?
dude, I hope when I die, you motherfuckers make me some funeral potatoes.
Okay.
All right,
Bet.
thank you. Okay, deal.
Bet.
Dude,
Okay.
when you die, we're not eating fucking funeral potatoes. For one thing,
I already
we're
made the
drinking.
commitment. I'm making them, dude. So you can't take
Yeah.
it from me.
There's gonna be like a fireball fountain, like shooting out fucking.
Okay, yeah, that's fine. We'll have a fireball fondue.
Okay.
Yeah, fireball
Alright.
chocolate.
Yeah.
thing.
Fireball chocolate fountain.
Okay.
Just running
Yeah.
with you.
I'll just make the potatoes. It's
Okay,
fine.
yeah, that's
Okay.
fine. CD's got the fountain handled. But you brought up something that's really different, a different experience than I've had, which is like nobody comes up to me as like a white person and be like, "Yo, man, like, hey, I now all of a sudden you're my friend," you know? And
Right.
but I get
Because I
that-
know another white person. Let's be friends.
Yeah, and I think I've
Seriously.
seen that a lot. There's going to bars and stuff. Is that like, especially in Utah, there's not a lot of black people in Utah, and I think that there's like that one thing in common, but it's kind of misconstrued in the sense that like because you're black, you have to be friends, and
Right.
it's not
like
necessarily
being friends
true
with a
because you're your
midget.
own person.
You know what the funny was?
Sorry,
Kind of
that was a
circling
bad-
back. No, kind of circling back, kind of like the education thing. And this is crazy. Okay. So when I interviewed for my job at the school, the person who was interviewing me at the end of the interview was like, I'm really, really glad that you're deciding to come on with us because, we've been thinking about how we have no cultural diversity on our campus, and it'd just be really good if we had a black teacher on campus.
Oh, great. Cultural appropriation.
Ready? So then this is what I'm told in my interview for the job. Okay. And then my first week there, I'm in the teacher's lounge, and one of the other teachers comes up to me in the teacher's lounge like, "Oh, you must be Miss Paris, And I'm like, "Yeah, nice to meet you." And they were like, no, actually, okay, that's another thing. First one was like, "Oh yeah, you're Paris." She was like, "Oh, we've been talking a long time that like the only thing we've been missing on this campus is like a super sassy black lady."
Oh my god.
And I'm in the teacher's lounge, and I'm just like, "Are you? This is
I
like my
would
first
piss in
week
her
of teaching
chocolate
there."
milk.
Not to mention, I had another teacher that came up to me that said like another similar contact that was like something to the effect of, so you're the diversity hire we have this year."
Oh,
Like,
what the fuck?
It couldn't possibly have been that I was like qualified, I was good at my job. Like, I'm teacher so and so. Nice to meet you. You're the diversity hire for this year.
Yeah, that's
my first week
fucked up.
teaching here.
Like why?
Was it
we could get
necessary?
into so
Absolutely.
much.
Like, was it necessary? Absolutely. Was it like? However, again, going back to judging, is it ignorance or is it racist? Right.
Yeah,
And
that's
it's a really fine line.
Yeah.
Now, when I have another teacher that comes up to me and asks me how I feel about BLM, and then I'm like, "Do you genuinely? Why are you asking me this question?" They're like, "No, I really want to understand," and I give my point. And they say, turn around and look at me, "Well, as far as I'm concerned, BLM will always stand for Bureau of Land Management," and walks away from me.
yeah,
I'm like,
BLM land.
why'd you initiate this conversation with me? If you just you obviously had it in your mind, you had some little dig you wanted to throw. Like,
Yeah,
cute.
the most fucked up part though is that you are one of the most selfless people I've ever met in your life, and then you're just pigeonholed into this bullshit, and you have to deal with that. It's crazy because I've met plenty of other people who are. They don't have to deal with what you have to deal with, and they're so entitled to that. They're like, "Oh, I don't know why everybody else has problems."
right.
And you're the one that's like, "I have to deal with this, but I still am going to give my heart to everybody."
Right. It doesn't make me. I mean, I thank goddess for my mother. She was an amazing, she is an amazing person, and I was really fortunate to get her as a mom.
Did your mother have a golden heart?
Yeah.
Yep.
Obviously.
My mom, if you won't care to hear this is kind of like a trippy story.
No, go ahead, share. If you're okay with sharing it.
No, I'm totally
please,
okay.
by all means.
So my mom is one of 11 children, which is from Northern California is not common. Like, I know in Utah, big families is a thing, but in our family, our family is one of the biggest families in our neighborhood. And, most of my aunts were prostitutes and drug addicts, and a few uncles too. So I grew up in the hood, so the neighborhood was like kind of different. You know what I mean? And my mom was a school teacher, and she ended up essentially at the end of her career becoming like the director of a program for teens and children that were, taken from their parents because of unsafe situations. And that's what my mom did for a living.
Can I meet your mom?
She's the coolest person on the planet. Absolutely.
Okay. I would love to.
She was just here in September, dude. I didn't even bring her to Old Town. But
you don't have to bring her there. Just call me up and like, meet my mom.
She's an amazing person. Do you want to hear why I'm here? This is the fun part.
I mean, we've already heard that the apple doesn't fall far from the tree.
No, not in that regard. But this part of the apple does fall.
Okay. Yeah, that's right.
So my mom and my dad, like my dad was already married to his wife. They've been married for 10 years. He was 28 and my mom was 18. That's when they met. So my dad was already married and had children. My mom was my dad's mistress for 11 years. And from that became me and my brother, the love children, right? Mm-hmm. Fantastic. So I have 13 half siblings because my dad, 12. Wait, okay. Depending upon who you talk to. Okay, because
that's Big Bird. 1, 2, 3, 4,
thank
5, 6, 7, 8, 9,
shout out to Ancestry.com because my dad has 6 kids with his wife, and then we found out that he also has a kid with his wife's sister.
Okay.
Thank you, Ancestry. And then he has 2 with my mom, and then apparently 2, maybe 3 more with somebody else.
Well, you have something in common with CD.
What's that? Was your papa a Rolling Stone too?
He was a Rolling Stone, I guess, if you put it that way.
We had an episode about, I don't know what episode it is because Chez. Oh, sorry, he's not here, but
I have a sister, and she's been on the podcast a couple times, and I had no idea
that you had another sibling.
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
Did you find out from Ancestry.com too?
No. We found out from a reggae concert.
Holy.
Can you believe that?
Like
a fucking reggae concert.
Elevated consciousness? That's so crazy. Okay, go ahead.
Yeah. Gang on that shit. But it was crazy. Like I was with a friend that knew her boyfriend, and
it was like, my dad's name is, and she, no, but my dad is your dad born on him. Yeah, he is. That was like one of those.
Well, I kind of, but I got information of a day later after smoking a cigarette and having a beer and hanging out, probably smoking a joint on the patio of this reggae concert, and now she's one of my best friends and I love her to death.
That's amazing. My big brother is the bestest friend I have. Like real talk. He's the most amazing person.
That's when when you have fucking blood coursing through your veins,
right?
That you share with each other because you feel that, like that is blood.
Right. I don't understand people like in Utah. You guys have these big families and like don't know their names, or like their children's
Jackson,
names.
Braxton, Saxton.
They don't know their
Snaxton.
cousins' names. They don't know when their cousins are born. They don't know the names of their cousins' children. They don't know any information. Like I can tell you right now, like I said, my mom has 11 brothers and sisters. Each one of them had 3 to 5 kids each.
Yeah.
Big family. I could tell you all their names, their full names, who they married, what date it was, the birthday, the name of their kids, everything.
And you shout out Ancestry, but that's one of the great things about the church in Utah, Latter-day Saints.
Right, did a great job.
They do a lot with family history,
absolutely,
which is super cool. I get that.
I had no idea.
I respect the shout out.
Are you being sarcastic?
No,
I'm not. Oh,
you really don't know about this?
No, no idea.
Oh my goodness. Oh.
Like I thought you just went on like 23andme.com.
Like,
or
no,
whatever.
so it's not like that.
You're talking about like the before those things existed. Like, I can't forget the name of the place because it's downtown and I've been there.
Church. It's
a
basically
big old
church
fucking.
office.
They have all the records in the fucking rock and Little Cottonwood Canyon.
Right, that thing is so dope, isn't it? That vault there. It's insane.
It's guarded by like armed forces.
Dude,
and shit.
The vault is a whole different conversation. But the church office building and the church library, they have. You can just go down there and you can look at newspapers dating back so fucking far. You can look at pictures.
It's dope.
What they're trying to do is create an environment where, if you want to know where you came from, you can do that. Then things like 23andMe came out, and shit like that.
Ancestry.
Ancestry,
Came
I think,
first.
it did come first, but I think they also did a great job of like working with the church to kind of figure out all
Oh,
that shit.
absolutely.
But DNA is a whole different thing.
I really wish culturally that we had that, as a possibility, because I've done it and I can only get so far, but I mean, it was like super exciting to finally see like where my grandfather came from type stuff.
I'll never do it. And this is why, because I was adopted from Phoenix to here. My parents
came from a trailer park.
No.
I did come from a trailer park, 100%.
Who cares?
And it doesn't matter. My parents are fucking the best people ever. My mom and dad are my mom and dad.
Can I tell you a funny story about
But
all I know is
I
that
can't do
23andMe because, I mean, let him finish.
Sorry,
Go ahead.
I can't do 23andMe or Ancestry or anything like that because I don't know if I necessarily want to know.
Want to know.
Yeah.
No,
Because I'm happy.
Your mom and dad are awesome.
I'm with it. I'm with it.
Stay
But
where
the funny thing about trailer parks is I'd never been to one before because I grew up in the hood. There's not trailer parks there really. And then the first time I went to a trailer park, I was 12, and that was the first time like I had the epiphany that like white people could be poor. Like it was not something that existed in my mind.
It sounds like a funny joke, but at the same time, it's not.
It's not. It's not. Like
at
I
all.
genuinely had never that's not what I saw in my life, and it wasn't until I went to a trailer park and I was like, wait a minute, you guys like y'all be sharing beds and shit too?
Mm-hmm.
Like, wait a minute. Like it was one of the most eye-opening things that ever happened to me. Trailer parks are dope though.
I've lived in
Shout out to trailer parks because they're fun as fuck.
I've lived in a trailer park, and it's one of the nicest fucking places I ever lived.
I stayed at a trailer park when I was in Kanab. Best trailer park on the planet.
Yeah.
I love that you were in Kanab. That's such a random place to be.
Right?
Because there's no reason to go there unless you're going to like the Grand Canyon.
No. I did go to the Grand Canyon.
Yeah.
Well, not this time. Actually, the last time I went to Kanab was about 2 years ago. One of the homies was out there working. And, he was just posting really morose, sad stuff on Facebook, and you could just tell he was lonely. And it was the week of Thanksgiving, the weekend before Thanksgiving, and I was like, I had the time off from school, so I pick up Boston. I call Boston. I'm like, hey, do you want to just smash out to Kanab for the night and go hang out with the boys? Like, we'll go hang out with Player and and like cheer him up right before the holidays. And so I tell my old man like, hey, I'm going out. We were supposed to go for a day, and I came back the morning of Thanksgiving.
Mm-hmm. That happens. Shit.
We went to the Grand Canyon. We went to Page. Like, we did all types of shit.
I think that's important too, is to get especially if you are in the Salt Lake Valley, it's important to get away sometimes. Like, it's easy right now, especially to get caught up in all the shit that goes on here. Like, you're driving down a street and you're like, oh yeah, they just demolished 4 houses to make fucking apartment buildings. It's just what happens,
it's
right?
the most annoying. I got tripped out yesterday when I was driving down State Street and I looked over right where B&D Burgers is at.
Yeah.
And like, I was like, look, and I was like, wait a minute. No, that house was there. Like, I could have sworn it was there yesterday.
Yeah.
And that house is just gone.
Happens quick.
And Hoppers. Like,
yeah.
Well, here's the thing,
Thanks
too.
for coming from California. Everybody that's a normal Utahn would blame you, but that's not.
I fled California 10 years ago for everything that's happening in Utah right now.
But Wade and Paris, here's the thing: we don't have to travel far. You can just go 1 hour or 2 hours away, even just like 30 minutes up Big or Little Common Canyon.
I know,
and you can be in absolute
paradise.
Fucking paradise.
I know. That's why I have a Harley and a side by side. I'm with you.
Oh, yeah.
Hey, Kurt. Last night we met some people from. Where were they from? Do you remember?
Where did we meet them at?
At the
they're
bar, yeah.
I'm not supposed to.
Pull start that motherfucker. Let's get your brain going again. We met some people that just came here to snowboard, which is it's
fairly
Salt Lake,
common.
so
It's
yeah, it's
ridiculously
fairly
common.
common. They ended up going to a dive bar that we were at. I bet you could guess that.
I know, I'm
but
sorry.
they were.
It wasn't supposed to be name dropping. I forgot about that part.
No, it's okay.
It was like St. Louis or something.
Yeah, they were from somewhere random. I was like, why are you guys here? It doesn't
best
seem
snow
like
on
you would
earth.
come here. And they were like, oh no, it's somebody's birthday, so we took them on a trip to be here. And like, all the bullshit aside, all the buildings and all the shit going on, like, it's kind of cool that we get that experience of like people come here for that, and you get to meet new people and you get to be like, why the fuck would you come here? I don't know. It's sick.
Yeah,
we
Utah,
go snowboarding.
Utah and Salt Lake is like it's a kind of a mecca when it comes to snowboarding or skiing type of.
Yeah, no, my first 2 years here, I was here as a consultant from a medical billing company that I was a trainer for. And, I lived in a hotel for 2 years because I'd be here for 2, 4, 6 weeks at a time and then go home for a week or two and come back. But I mean, like, being here for 6 weeks at a time and going home for 2 weeks is nothing, right?
Yeah.
So, I stayed in a hotel, though, So it was like a really good exposure to like not just like Salt Lake community, because I got to like take a cab and go in downtown and like meet new people,
Right.
but also being in the hotel and having the opportunity like sitting at the hotel restaurant or bar, and like of course I talked to everybody, like finding out why people are there. And then it got to the point where I knew the staff so well that they would call me and be like, hey, they're like, a whole soccer team just hasn't got delayed. They're downstairs in the lobby. You should probably put on a face, come down, like.
So what attracted you? Was that experience what attracted you to move here?
It's a lot of it, yeah. I
What specifically about Salt Lake? Well, like what brought you here?
so crazy because I had this epiphany like a few weeks ago. Leading up to moving here, I was born and raised in my neighborhood, and I had never really left other than to travel, for family stuff or whatever. But it wasn't until I got to Utah that it was the first time I ever been complimented on something other than having a big butt.
I mean, Utah's Salt Lake Valley specifically is known
really
for like
nice
having
people.
really fucking nice people.
There's really nice people, and it was like weird, like to like have that weird thought, like, oh my god, I'm in my 20s, and the first time like people are like, hey, I really like your smile, and I was like, you're what? Did you not see that? Like, you know what I mean, like kind of thing, and like just
were you
how
looking at my butt smile or my regular smile?
And like getting accustomed to people being genuinely nice, and like I remember. Walking downtown and people like waving, like walk by and say hi, and I was like, "What the hi what?
Yeah,
what you want? You want the smoke? You know what I'm saying? Like because where I come from, like California people mind their own business. I would go out to dinner by myself, so I was here as a corporate trainer,
sure, and
I would be at a restaurant and like. There's like table next to you, and I'm like, oh, just want to ask like, what did you order? And they're like, oh, we got this, and like, oh, do you want to try it?
Yeah,
and
do you
I'm
want
like,
to
wait a
bite
minute,
of it?
hold on, we'll just oh, you're here by yourself? Let's just sit together, like and I met some of the dopest people on the planet.
Yeah.
People today that I couldn't live without because of Salt Lake and like how nice people are. That's the other side of it.
Yeah, we talked about this on the break. I'm gonna tell all you listeners right now, go out today on Wednesday and just go compliment somebody on something.
Right.
Like that shit makes people's day, like
it is.
It's the weirdest thing. Like I used to go downtown, work downtown. I went to a bunch of bars there, and it was the weirdest thing. I was out smoking a cigarette, and a gay guy came out of the bar, and as he was walking by, he just stopped dead in his tracks. He's like, "Your eyes are beautiful."
They are.
And then he got into the cab and left, and I was like, "Damn, does he know how much that like made me feel good?" Like I'm not gay, but at the same time, that compliment was like, "Holy shit!"
But he wasn't lying though.
Thank you. I appreciate that.
I'm not even mad at him. Yeah. If I'd have seen you around, like that would be something I would compliment you on too. If I saw you in the grocery store in the produce, I'd be like, you have some really nice eyes.
Hey, Kurt, compliment CD real quick.
Don't compliment me.
No, please do.
Yeah, come on, man.
Please, but it has to come from like a really genuine place.
I'm not ready for that right now.
Oh, okay, that's fine. Thank you. You know what?
No one's ready to compliment me, especially
Kurt. One thing I respect you drawing your boundary, and like that's like I can't even be mad at you for that because some people can't even do that now. So there's that.
That's a fucking good ass compliment for Kurt. Honestly, I feel like that came from deep.
The great thing about Utah though is when you walk down the sidewalk or you're at the dog park or you're at the grocery store and you're like, hey, how are you? How are you doing? Good. How are you? What? You ask
like genuinely ask how I'm doing? Yeah.
Well, yeah, but when you ask like how are you doing?
Utah's also the first place like a Journey song came on in a bar at like 12 o'clock and everybody and their mom sang it, and it was just like one of those things. Like I'm not like a huge Journey fan, but I'm saying like I got to have that movie experience where like there's a song playing and like the whole bar goes live and everybody's into it at once. Like the thing you see on TV, like I got to experience that for the first time here. Like I thought it was just something you saw on TV.
We're lucky to have that sense of community, and I feel like that's one thing that we all do really well in Utah and especially Salt Lake is like, you have your schedule, you go do what you do, but when somebody random pops into your schedule, you're like, hey, yo, what's up? Let's figure this out. Like, hey, do you need help with anything? I don't know.
I mean, I help people all the time. It's so crazy, but like, yes, I do challenge everyone, and it's a challenge I have with my friends right now. Like, pay 2 compliments a day. Period. Do it.
Yeah.
I think everyone should have that challenge. Utah is like the Canada of the United States.
There's actually science behind it that says that people that live the longest lives are the ones that show the most gratitude. So it's actually something that could like add years onto your life
We're
by
never
being
gonna
gracious.
we're never gonna die, Paris.
I plan to live forever. I mean, because I still look 26 now, right?
Hell yeah.
And this podcast is never going to die either.
I know, right?
Why not? Like,
Why would it? You know?
thank you so much for being here. By the way, like the conversations we have had has been awesome.
Thank you. I
Diving
appreciate
into, I think a lot
What do
of
you mean the
shit.
conversation you've had?
You weren't here for most of it. It was just me and Paris. Thank you for joining the show. So actually,
We've
I should
had,
be thanking
and the listeners, too.
Oh no, the listeners. Yeah, of course I appreciate them, but they
What
don't
are you
need to
talking-
know that.
Yeah,
I'm just
don't make me come over there and
CD.
slut.
Thanks for being the guest today.
Hey,
Paris.
I'm about to ready to be the
next
Wyoming of the podcast right now.
Oh, thank God, there's nothing there.
I felt that.
That was a
I felt-
brutal joke. Sorry,
I felt
dude.
that. That was
Yeah.
deep. That's fine.
What are you gonna do? Get a drive-through margarita at the liquor store?
Right.
Yeah, I don't know.
All right,
Paris,
Paris. Thank you so much.
You're the
Our
shit.
conversations have been great, really deep shit, and also I think go comment, go give somebody a compliment.
Someone you don't know, a total stranger, and not something that's like lewd or weird. Don't just be like walk
Yeah.
up to a girl and be like nice butt, like compliment somebody on something random.
Yeah, don't be weird about it. If you want to be funny about it, be like, yo, you got cool kneecaps.
Right.
Like, that's not creepy, and it's kind of funny. to be like,
even if you
offered-
do have cool kneecaps.
I offered a
Sometimes
guy
they're cool.
a part of my candy apple in traffic at the red light yesterday, and he was really excited about it.
you want some? Did you
I said-
yell?
No, he was like had his
"Yo,
whip.
you want some candy apple?
Like he rolled up and he like looked over and I like smiled and he was like hi and I'm like hey what's up? I was like do you want some of this apple though? Like, this looks really good and he was like it does. And so I hopped out. And
The
gave
best
him-
part about doing shit like that is that you leave that other person with a story that they get to go back to their own little world
Right.
with, and they're like, yo, it's so crazy. I took a bite of this candy apple. You know what I mean?
It was sliced. I
Yeah.
gave him a piece, but yes.
Yeah, so thank you so much.
You're welcome.
We're going to have you back. We've got a lot. We just barely scratched the surface
I
of,
feel that way
of,
too.
what I know you can talk about. But we'll be back.
Well, thank you so much for having me. And it's really an honor. Like I really appreciate finally being invited to be here.
Of
It's an
course.
honor to have you.
Yeah. Is there anything you want to plug?
Oh my God, like I can do that.
You can.
I can plug anything, like
anything you want.
anything I want.
Yeah. You put up with us for an hour. So
Oh my
get
goodness!
after
Like
it.
oh my God, I have so many things to pick from. Shout out to the Herc, which is in downtown Salt Lake. I don't know the
What's
address.
the Herc?
It's the Hip Hop Education and Resource Center. It's an amazing place.
How have I not heard about that? Sounds amazing.
How have
It's
I
an
not never
amazing
heard about
place.
this
Like,
shit?
please, if you get a chance to go down there, it's one of the things that like most cities don't have, and as compassionate as the gentlemen that own and operate that place are about keeping the 5 elements alive with this new generation. It's amazing. Check them out. Herc.
5 elements. Please explain the 5 elements. Spray paint, graffiti,
Well, no, okay,
graffiti,
okay.
She's trying to plug
lyric
something
writing.
amazing.
I'm
Hold on.
trying to no. Okay,
DJing.
we'll
yeah.
talk about it afterwards.
Yeah.
So shout out to the Herc Hip Hop Education and Resource Center, HERC. Please support them if you ever have a chance or you want to do donations to them. It's an amazing place, and it's like one of those places I wish had it existed when I was a teenager. I'm totally showing my 80s baby shit right now. So there's that. Also shout out to the Robin's Nest downtown on Main Street and 3rd.
Sick.
Robin, you're one of my favorite people on the planet, and your sandwiches are amazing. And I will eat. I mean, like, oh, this is the best sandwiches on the planet. And a sore dick barbecue, and that's it.
No Mormons were harmed in the making of this podcast.
Dude, I want to hear about this fucking Robin's Nest place. Where's Robin's Nest?
It's right next door to Cheers downtown. It's right next door to Cheers, and Robin